This is an awesome show with Peter Defty. Peter's been dabbling in low-carb, high-fat applications for sports, for endurance athletes, and also strength athletes alike for the past 17 years. He's really a pioneer in this field. No one 17 years ago that I know, very few people I should say, have been doing this type of work for this long. And he's great friends with Stephen Finney, Jeff Volek, and many others. And he was part of the FASTER study recruiting subjects for that. So with that, guys, let's dive back into it with Peter.
The fat-adapted athlete is a completely different animal from your
phenotype.
Yeah, from the straight hardcore keto. And so, you know, the problem is right now is like where I am is in this weird space where I'm not in the keto camp, even though I believe in nutritional ketosis, but I do, you know, we use carbs, but you know, I'm not in the high carb camp too, because there's unintended consequences, you know, and so it's kind of hard. And I think people are gravitating towards this. I know a lot of people who I've helped coach and stuff who are out there and have big followings are talking about this now, but it's, you know, it's part of that whole binary process and how things become fads and people think one way or another. And like we were talking earlier, you know, I've had people call me up and say, well, I can't buy Vespa, it's got 4 grams of sugar, and they're like crapping their pants. And then, you know, with the keto, you have a lot of people like, if you get above 50 grams, you know,
That's it.
It's all of a sudden we fell off a cliff. And it's like, you know, what we're seeing is like, you know, typically 75 to 150 on a normal training day, but you know, for races or big training loads, a young male who's not metabolically broke, it's pretty much like in line with the original studies that came out of Sweden on carb loading. These guys can smash 300-400 grams before a race, and they're doing that with fat and protein too. They're not just straight up naked carb loading, but they can do it, and they're going to get a huge kaboom, and it's not going to impact their ability to metabolize fat.
Right. It's not like they're kicked out of ketosis permanently and
No,
then they need to
no.
go 6 months later. And
Right, and even I've got a female athlete that's in her 40s, and she came back from a parasitic infection, and we brought her back, and she did 4 weeks ago. She did her first ultra, and she was just at an event this weekend where a bunch of keto people were there, and they were measuring. It was the first time she'd had her blood measured, and she said, even after dinner, I was at 0.5. You know,
even high carb during that specific.
it wasn't high carb. It was a normal dinner, and they had potatoes. It was like your normal hotel event, you know, a meat dish, vegetable dish, and some potatoes, right? And so, and wine, lots of wine. And so she had 2 or 3 glasses of wine at dinner, and, you know, after dinner, 0.5 millimolars, and she was like 3 or 4 all day. She didn't eat all day. She ran in the morning and kept going. So, you know, you just don't get kicked out of ketosis. And I'm finding, and myself personally, and then the athletes I work with, we can do stupid things and you know, eat complete trash, and then the next day, boom, you're right back in. So that window of carbohydrate tolerance and flexibility opens way up when you get fat adapted. And I'm talking really about aerobically fit. That's very key, is getting that aerobic engine built up. And there's a lot of, you know, you hear a lot of talk even in the keto community how you don't need aerobic exercise. You can do just you just need high intensity interval stuff, which I'm not knocking. You do need that too. Okay, very important to do high intensity stuff to challenge the system, but you do need to, what we're seeing is when you build that aerobic base on a fat burning physiology, it's huge. It's tremendous because, again, look at the body of science. What's it based on for cardio?
Right, high carb based.
High carb based. So it's not the cardio that's doing it. It's the fact that if you're doing a lot of cardio, you're doing a lot of exercise, but you're fueling it with a lot of sugar, right? So, you know, if you're doing,
people don't make that association or that connection. That's profound.
Right. It's like if you're doing a lot of exercise and you're fueling it with sugar, you know, everybody knows sugar's bad. Right. So that's kind of that's what people are missing is that context of why it's done. And what we're seeing is, you know, it's funny because Amy said that about, she's seeing that right now because she teaches strength and conditioning. This is the gal I was just referring to. And she says now she's got this big aerobic engine from her ultra running. She's going into classes, strength and conditioning, ropes classes, personal training, and she's just killing her students. And a lot of these guys are like high school and college kids, you know, competitive athletes. And she's just they're just dead. And here's a 41-year-old woman with 4 kids or 3 kids, and she's just, she went and taught a high school wrestling thing, and she said, handed them all a can of whoop ass.
Yeah.
And then I had another gal, Lindsay Boston, up in Reno, who Rob Wolf put us together, and she said she lost her match, and she said, what's different? Something's different. What's different? And she just had knee surgery, so she hasn't been running. She said, I don't have that aerobic engine I need. So and the same thing with Doug Berlin, who is one of the athletes profiled in the Art and Science of Low Carb Performance. Guy was a career bodybuilder, gym rat. He owned 3 Gold's gyms, really successful. And when he built that engine and he went back into the gym, he was just laying people to waste.
Yeah. Because that mitochondrial density, capillary density, like that foundation is there.
That's the whole thing, and that's what I don't get. What people don't get is first build the potential of the energy, oxygen delivery system, right? Your heart, your lungs, your veins, your capillaries, your microcapillaries, and get them, get that microcapillary biogenesis to feed the muscle cells, so you build, the type 1 slow twitch, and then you build a lot of type 2A, the aerobic fast twitch, instead of, if you don't have that system to feed it, you're going to put on a lot of type 2B aerobic, anaerobic slow, fast twitch muscle tissue. Right? That's why people get all pumped up when they just do a lot of gym work without building their cardio. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally, yeah. But you don't have the network, the foundation, the infrastructure to deliver nutrients in, pull away waste.
Pull out waste, carbon dioxide, right? So this is why I say is like, you see this, and then the other thing is when you get fat adapted, you lower that inflammation. And I got this out of reading a lot of studies on type 2 diabetes and heart disease, journal stuff and textbook, because you get this hard arteries, right? That's a classic point. Yeah. When you get fat adapted, you get this huge arterial distensibility. And that's why the whole blood pressure and salt myth is you have hard arteries and you start pumping more fluid through your blood and you add more salt, your blood volume goes up, and if your arteries can't grow, what happens to your pressure, right? But when you got that thing, that's why, like Finney and Bollock say you have to add salt and fluid to your diet, because, especially when you're performing and sweating, because you have that ability. It's not just creating more, it's their ability to grow. Those pipes can grow and deliver more fluid. If you'd like to learn more, click on the links below to learn more about how you can optimize your fat metabolism to reach your health and performance potential. Thank you. We look forward to working with you.